Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. And I hope you like today's story that I am going to tell you about the most amazing looking shark glyph. The waves of the moon-wake ocean rolled gently beneath our rover raft as we drifted towards the abandoned island of Velmora Reef. Above us, the twin suns of Nibiru glowed through ribbons of emerald auroras, reflecting across the endless waters like shattered glass. The three moons hovered silently overhead, watching us like ancient guardians. I stood at the bow of the raft with Orbeak perched on my shoulder, while Luna checked the tide scanner beside me. "You sure this place isn't cursed?" Zena asked, nervously, as she stared toward the island in the distance. Velmora Reef barely looked real. Massive black cliffs rose from the ocean like broken teeth, and the remains of old research towers leaned sideways near the shoreline. Long ago, scientists had apparently tried to study deep-sea glyph migration there before mysteriously abandoning the facility. That alone was enough to make me interested. "Only one way to find out," I said with a grin. The closer we got, the stranger the water became. Thick patches of glowing crimson seaweed floated beneath the surface. Red kelp forests stretched under the waves like underwater trees. Orbeak suddenly chirped sharply. "What is it?" Luna asked. Before I could answer, something huge moved beneath the raft. Thump! The entire ocean shifted. A giant wave exploded upward around us as a silver blur shot beneath the boat. Zena screamed while Myrno hid behind a supply crate. "Glyph detected," I shouted, pulling out my scanner gun. The screen flashed wildly. "Unknown species, aquatic predator class. Status, territorial." Then I saw it. Two burning orange-red eyes peered from beneath the water. A long silver creature climbed onto a nearby rock formation, balancing like a lemur while its shark-like dorsal fin sliced through the mist. Its striped tail glowed blue like cracked crystal, and its claws scraped against the stone. The glyph hissed but didn't attack. It simply watched us. Its movements were strange, half mammal, half sea predator. It crouched low like a curious animal rather than a hunter. "A shark lemur," Luna whispered. The glyph detector gun began scanning. "Glyph detected. Sharlamur. Type, class, identification, aquatic mammal. Current known habitat, Cave of Velthor on Velmora Reef Island. Region, Moonwake Ocean, Nibiru. Temperament, docile and observant unless defending offspring, eggs, or territory. Wild Sharlamur rarely attack without warning and are known to avoid unnecessary conflict. Habitat information. The Sharlamur inhabits the hidden Cave of Velthor and a submerged cavern system beneath the cliffs of the Velmora Reef Island. The cave contains glowing coral structures, geothermal pools, and dense forests of crimson kelp that serve as both shelter and food source. Air pockets throughout the cavern allow the species to rest both above and below the waterline. Biological traits. Though classified as an aquatic mammal, the Sharlamur possesses shark-like fins, reinforced aquatic muscle structure, and specialized dual long gills that allow it to breathe underwater and on land equally as well. Its crystal-striped tail stores oceanic energy that becomes more active during combat or territorial displays. Diet: red kelp, seaweed, reef moss. Primary abilities: shark attack. The Sharlamur propels itself through the ocean at incredible velocity, creating a massive tidal wave, capable of destroying small vessels or knocking enemies off balance. Tailspin. The glyph rotates its tail at high speeds to deliver repeated blunt force strikes capable of shattering rock and coral. Fin. Raises its dorsal fin to intimidate opponents. Smaller predators often retreat immediately upon witnessing the display. Sharp Eye focuses energy into its glowing eyes, heightened reflexes, and allowing it to detect movement patterns and incoming attacks with extreme precision. Behavioral notes. Sharlamur are highly protective parents and create nests from woven seaweed and smooth reef stones. Witnesses report the species communicating through low-frequency hums that can travel long distances underwater. Threat classification moderate. Threat classification near eggs or young severe. Perfect, I said as the detector gun finally stopped scanning and went blank and the screen went dark. I smiled and reached into my satchel for a Glyph capsule. Easy now, I whispered toward the creature. The Sharlamur stood waist-deep in the glowing seawater, its orange eyes fixed on me for a second. I thought it had calmed down. I was wrong. The moment the Glyph clicked open, "Scree!" the Sharlamur lunged. Look out! Luna screamed. "Shark attack!" The creature slammed into the water with explosive force, creating a massive wave inside the cavern itself. Water burst upward like a tidal explosion and crashed directly into our small boat. Crash! The raft flipped instantly. Supplies flew everywhere. Orabeak squawked as crates smashed against the cave walls. Zena disappeared beneath the water while Myrno clung to a floating lantern in terror. "Oh, no, 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 no," I said, barely grabbing onto a broken piece of the boat before getting pulled underwater. The ocean inside the cave churned violently around me. I could see the Sharlamur circling through the glowing water like a silver phantom, its massive fins slicing through the current. It wasn't trying to kill us. It was warning us. Then I saw why. Near the back of the cave, hidden beneath thick red kelp, sat the eggs. The wave hadn't been rage. It had been fear. I surfaced, coughing as Luna grabbed my arm. It thinks the Glyph is a weapon," she shouted. The Sharlamur crawled onto a rock ledge above us, water dripping from its claws. Its glowing striped tail lashed violently behind it. Tailspin. The creature whipped its tail into the cavern wall, hard enough to crack the stone beside us. "Okay," Zena yelled from atop floating debris. "Definitely not docile right now." The Sharlamur raised its enormous dorsal fin. Its shadow stretched across the cave as the fin unfolded like a battle banner. Even Orabeak backed away nervously. I slowly lifted my hands. "No one touched the eggs," I said quietly. Just Sharlamur's glowing eyes narrowed. Then suddenly, sharp eye. Its orange eyes burned brighter than before, as if studying every movement we made. It was watching for weapons, traps, aggression. And that was when I realized something. The creature wasn't a monster, it was a parent. I slowly pulled the Glyph from the water and gently set it aside on a floating crate. "We're not here to hurt your babies," I said softly. The cave fell silent except for dripping water and distant waves. Then the Sharlamur slowly lowered its fins. Its growling stopped, and little by little, the massive creature relaxed, and Orabeak cautiously floated beside me and dropped a bundle of red kelp into the water between us. The Sharlamur stared at it, then at me, then carefully stepped forward and ate the kelp from my hand. Behind me, Zena sighed in relief, while she muttered, wringing seawater from her jacket, "At least we only lost the boat." "We have to be careful," Astra called from the wreckage of the raft, water dripping from her silver hair as she steadied herself against a floating crate. "One wrong move and we'll meet our end." The Sharlamur crouched near her nest of eggs, glowing eyes fixed on every movement we made. The cave hummed softly with the sound of rushing tides beneath the cliffs of Velmora Reef Island. I slowly tried stepping closer. The moment my boot scraped the rock, the Sharlamur backed away with a warning growl. Her claws dug into the stone while her massive striped tail twitched anxiously behind her. "Easy," I whispered, but she didn't trust me anymore. Not after the boat. Astra gently pushed herself through the glowing water toward the creature. "Let me try," she said. Luna looked nervous. "Astra, I'll be careful." Even Orabeak watched silently as Astra swam closer to the frightened Glyph mother. Unlike the rest of us, Astra moved slowly, without fear or excitement, just patience. The Sharlamur hissed quietly. Astra stopped a few feet away and held out a bundle of fresh red kelp. I know it's hard to trust, girl, Astra said gently, but we won't hurt you. The creature's glowing eyes narrowed. Well, we'll even bring your children with us to incubate until they're born, then bring them back to this place here. The Sharlamur tilted her head slightly, but Astra continued quietly, I would love if you'd come with me. The cave became still. I don't have a companion I can count on like Stelliferis, Luna, and Zena do. I've been alone all my life. For the first time since we entered the cave, the Sharlamur's expression changed. The aggression faded. The fear softened. She stared at Astra in complete silence, while the glowing waters rippled around them. The only sound was the distant crashing of waves outside the cave. Minutes passed. Maybe longer. Even Myrna stopped shaking. Then slowly, very slowly, the Sharlamur took a step forward. Astra didn't move. Another step. The creature lowered her head cautiously toward the offered kelp. Her glowing orange eyes studied Astra carefully, almost as if she were searching for hidden lies behind the words. But Astra never looked away. Finally, the Sharlamur gently took the kelp from her hand and devoured it instantly. Crunch! The entire cave seemed to relax. Zena exhaled loudly behind me. Oh, thank the moons. The Sharlamur swallowed the last of the kelp before inching closer to Astra again, this time without hostility. Then something happened. None of us expected. The massive aquatic Glyph slowly pressed her head against Astra's shoulder. Astra froze. Aw, Luna whispered. The Sharlamur let out a deep, rumbling sound, not threatening this time, but soft, almost comforting. She likes you, I said with a grin. Astra blinked in surprise. Really? The Sharlamur nudged her again. Orabeak chirped happily, while Myrna cautiously climbed onto a floating rock to get a better look. She chose you, Zena said quietly, and honestly, I think Astra needed that more than any of us realized. The lonely girl who thought she had nobody had just been adopted by a giant shark lemur mother from the Cave of Velthor. Astra slowly reached into the waterproof pouch hanging from her belt. Inside was a single glyphit, the only one she had ever owned. The tiny pyramid-shaped device glowed softly in her palm as she stepped toward the Sharlamur. The great aquatic mother watched her carefully but didn't move away this time. Astra gently placed the glyphit onto the wet stone between them. I promise, she whispered. You won't be alone anymore. She set the glyphit. The Sharlamur lowered her head slightly, and after a few minutes the glyphit finally activated with a beep. Ancient glyph markings ignited across the glyphit's surface. A brilliant blue-white light burst upward like liquid lightning, spiraling through the cavern walls and reflecting across the water. The air itself vibrated. The Sharlamur backed up in surprise as glowing energy wrapped around her body in twisted ribbons of light. It's working, Luna gasped. The creature let out one final echoing cry before the energy surged forward. Whoosh! The blinding light collapsed inward and the Sharlamur vanished. The glyphit clattered gently onto the rock, glowing warmly. Silence filled the cave. Astra carefully picked up this device with both hands like it was fragile and a crystal. Then the glyphit chimed. Glyph successfully tamed Sharlamur. A huge smile spread across Astra's face. She trusted me, Astra whispered. She chose you, I corrected. Orabeak chirped proudly while Myrna bounced excitedly atop a floating crate. Then Zena raised one finger. Okay, she said. Wonderful emotional moment. Love that for you. She pointed towards the completely destroyed raft drifting in pieces around the cave. But without our boat, how exactly are we getting ourselves and those eggs back to the underground sanctuary? Everyone went quiet. The eggs. 3 glowing Sharlamur eggs rested safely beneath the red kelp nest near the back of the cavern, and our transportation currently consisted of 1 broken crate, half a paddle, a floating lantern, Myrno. Bad decisions. Luna crossed her arms. Can Orabeak carry us? Orabeak immediately screeched in outrage. Fair point, Luna admitted. I rubbed the back of my neck while thinking. There has to be something left on this island, I said. The old research facility, maybe? Zena groaned dramatically. Oh, fantastic. Creepy abandoned science buildings. Because this trip wasn't cursed enough already. Astra carefully attached the Sharlamur Glyph to her belt and looked toward the cave entrance where distant thunder rumbled across the ocean. "We don't really have a choice," she said softly. "The eggs won't survive out here forever." I looked back towards the glowing nest. She was right. The cave was already getting colder now. The mother was gone. We moved fast, I said firmly. "Grab whatever supplies survived. We head for the research station, and hopefully," Luna muttered, "find something that floats." So beneath the eerie glow of the three moons and two suns, we left the shattered remains of our raft behind and climbed towards the abandoned structure of Velmora Reef Island, completely unaware that something else on the island had already noticed us. The climb from the Cave of Velthor was miserable and very, very grueling. Cold seawater soaked through our clothes while sharp black rocks tore at our boots with every step. Above us, the abandoned research tower of Velmora Reef Island leaned crooked against the stormy sky like the skeletons of giants. Orabeak flew ahead carrying one of the Sharlamur eggs carefully in his claw, while Luna and I carried the other two, wrapped in thick seaweed blankets to keep them warm. Astra stayed close behind the eggs the entire time. Every few minutes she would touch the glyph hanging from her belt, just to make sure the Sharlamur was still there. "You know," Zena muttered, while dragging a broken supply crate uphill, "next vacation we should go somewhere normal." "What counts as normal for us?" Luna asked. Zena thought for a moment. "Fair." The closer we got to the facility, the stranger the island became. Rust-covered warning signs stuck out from the cliffs. "Biohazard authorized personnel only" signs were corroded and looking so much like a zombie apocalypse movie. Old rover tracks crisscrossed the ground beneath thick vines and glowing moss. The buildings themselves were enormous silver domes connected by cracked glass tunnels. Most of the windows were shattered, some from the inside. "That's comforting," Zena said nervously. A loud metallic groan echoed somewhere deep within the facility. Everyone froze. "Tell me that was just the wind," Astra whispered. Then came another sound. "Scrape!" Like claws dragging slowly across metal. Orabeak puffed up immediately. I tightened my grip on my detector gun. "Stay together." We carefully approached the main entrance dome. The giant blast doors were half opened, leaving a narrow gap just enough for us to squeeze through. Inside, darkness swallowed us whole. Only the emergency lights still worked, flickering dim red across the flooded hallway and overturned equipment. Strange vines grew along the walls, pulsing faintly like veins. The air smelled old and wrong. Luna suddenly pointed ahead. There, at the far end of the chamber, sat a massive transport rover resting beneath a tarp. 6 huge hover pontoons lined its sides. Zena's eyes widened. "That thing could carry the eggs." "Assuming it still works," I said. We rushed towards it. The rover looked ancient, but mostly intact. The symbol of the old Velmora Research Division was still painted on its side. Astra brushed us from the control panel. "No power." "Great," Zena sighed. Then, beep! The detector gun at my hip suddenly lit up wildly. "Warning, unknown glyph signature detected." A deep growl echoed through the darkness behind us. Slowly, very slowly, we turned around. 2 glowing eyes stared at us from the upper catwalk. Then 4 more opened nearby than dozens. Shapes moved across the ceiling, long limbs, hooked claws. Wet chittering sounded throughout the facility. Luna took a shaky step forward. "Stellaferis." The scanner flickered again. "Unidentified swarm, class Glyph." One of the creatures crawled forward into the dim red light. My stomach dropped. It looked like a cross between a deep-sea eel and a cave spider. Its body stretched unnaturally long, while glowing fins ran down its back like torn banners. And judging by the way they surrounded us, we had walked directly into their nest. The creature shrieked all at once. "Scream!" Oh, we are so dead, Zena whispered. Then Astra suddenly grabbed the Sharlamur Glyph from her belt. Her eyes narrowed. Maybe not. The Glyph began to glow. If they want to fight, Astra said coldly as the creatures crawled closer across the walls and ceiling, let's give them one. The swarm screeched in response. Dozens of glowing eyes locked onto us from the darkness. The detector gun in my hand practically screamed, warning, hostile swarm detected. One of the eel spider glyphs lunged from the ceiling too late. Astra slammed the glyph onto the floor, or flooded metal floor. Sharlamur. Whoosh! A blinding torrent of blue ocean energy erupted from the device and exploded outward like a tidal wave. Water from the flooded hallway spiraled violently around the chamber as the Sharlamur materialized with a thunderous roar. Scrar! The massive aquatic glyph landed between us and the swarm, claws scraping sparks across the floor. Her glowing striped tail lashed behind her while her enormous dorsal fin rose high like a blade. The eel spiders hesitated. Big mistake. Shark attack. The Sharlamur slammed both front claws into the water. Boom! A massive wave burst through the hallway, hurling the front line of creatures into the wall hard enough to dent metal. The entire facility shook violently as water exploded in every direction. That's my girl, Astra shouted. Orabeak dove from above, firing blast of energy feathers into the swarm, while Myrno rammed one of the creatures directly off the catwalk. Luna pointed upward. More incoming. More incoming! The ceiling practically came alive. Hundreds of hooked limbs skittered toward us through the darkness. Oh, moon, Zena whispered. The Sharlamur snarled and spun violently. Tailspin! Her massive glowing tail whipped through the chamber like a hurricane, smashing eel spiders across walls, pipes, and broken consoles. One creature flew directly through a window into the ocean outside. Another leaped toward Astra from above. The Sharlamur instantly stepped in front of her and raised her towering fin. Finwin! The dorsal fin unfolded fully, glowing bright blue in the darkness. The attacked creature froze midair, then immediately turned around and fled, screaming into the vent shaft. Did she just scare it into retreat? Luna asked. Apparently, I replied. The swarm suddenly stopped moving. All the creatures retreated into the shadows at once. The silence that followed felt worse. Drip, drip, drip. Then the detector gun flashed blood red. Warning! Alpha signature detected. A low rumble echoed somewhere deep beneath the facility. The floor trembled again and again. Heavy footsteps. The smaller creatures scattered frantically as something enormous approached through the darkness below the catwalks. Metal groaned, pipes burst. Then a gigantic shape emerged from the shadows. Everyone froze. It looked like the queen of the swarm. A massive armored eel spider, nearly 3 times larger than the others, crawled from the shattered laboratory wall. Rusted harpoons and broken chains were embedded throughout its body as if researchers had tried and failed to contain it years ago. Glowing red eyes covered its face. The scanner identified it immediately. Glyph detected. Abyssarak. Threat level extreme. The creature opened its jaws and screamed, Screech! The entire facility shook violently. The Sharlamur stepped protectively in front of Astra, growling low. Water began to swirl around her claws again. Astra grinned nervously. Oh, this is gonna hurt. The Abyssarak lunged with a deafening screech, but the Sharlamur met it head-on. Now, I shouted. Orabeak blasted the creature from above while Luna and Zena struck from the sides. Astra gave one final command. Shark attack! The Sharlamur slammed into the flooded floor with enough force to unleash a tidal wave through the entire facility. Water exploded outward, smashing the Abyssarak through the collapsed wall of the research station and deep into the ocean below. For a moment, silence. Then the remaining swarm scattered into the darkness. We actually won, Zena breathed. Outside, the ancient transport rover finally roared to life beneath the glowing sky. The Sharlamur eggs rested safely in the back while Astra sat beside her new companion with a tired smile. And together, beneath the endless light of Nibiru's twin suns in the soft glow of the 3 eternal moons, we left the ruins of Velmora Reef Island behind and disappeared into the horizon toward our home, our underground sanctuary.